Now, young girls today are being brought up to believe that raising children is more important than realising their own professional ambitions, or so says the new head of the Girls' School Association, that's Hilary French. Well, here is Julia Hobsbawm, an entrepreneur and advocate of women in business. Julia, a very good morning.
Hello.
To you. Some people will listen to what this new head of the Girls' School Association say it's kind of tilting at windmills, really, in a world where, in the UK, for instance, a third of female graduates will never have children.
Well, I think she's issuing a warning bell and saying this would be a sorry state of affairs if it were the case that
But
women...
which schools are we talking? Where is this taught
Well,
in schools?
the Independent Girls' School Association represents the network of private schools, and they have been traditionally the most traditional. Women slightly older than me, in their early 50s, have said that they were literally trained in those schools to be housewives. That's not really representative.
Anybody from this generation.
Women work. Women have to work, and in fact all around the world it's the norm. Women are opening businesses in record numbers. In fact, for every 10 men that start a business now, Forbes magazine is reporting that 8 are women. If we lived
Think about the professions, in medicine, the law, accountancy, the media.
If we lived in Guatemala or Brazil or Switzerland, you'd actually find equal numbers of men and women. So it's not an accurate picture. There's nothing wrong with staying home and bringing up your children, but the reality is, economically,
But by implication, she's sort of
that.
saying that there is something wrong with doing that, isn't she? Isn't that what she's saying?
Well, I think what she's trying to do is balance it out. What there is something wrong with is the suggestion that women shouldn't be ambitious. Women should be ambitious, in my view.
I'm really struggling with this. I mean, I say this as the father of 5 daughters. I just do not see teachers running around, even imbuing by inference this kind of attitude.
Well, I think they're used to in the private schools network.
So this story is at least 10 years too old. Why on earth are we running it today?
I think that the Independent Girls' School Association is desperately trying to modernise, and I think that's where this story comes from. But it's an interesting day for this story to come out, with the rather admirable woman who heads the TUC, Frances O'Grady, calling for something which I think is pretty retrograde, which is the idea of quotas for women.
It's a different story, that, isn't it? I mean, we were talking during our paper review. There are practical problems with implementing what, on the surface, looks like a great idea. And we see in Scandinavia, don't we, female directors leaping from one directorship to another, trousering the money that goes with them, just to make sure that a company can say, hey, look, we've got a 40% quota of women directors.
But it's also, I mean, there's that famous joke about the Californian psychoanalyst who wants to change a light bulb, but the light bulb has to really want to change. Women have got to want the change. Women have to feel ambition themselves, and the question is, why don't they? And maybe this woman at the Independent Schools Network is trying to challenge any old assumptions that we should just stay at home and look after our kids.
Can I just go back to that statistic I began with, and it's true of the UK, it's true of other Western developed nations as well. In the UK, it's something like a third of female graduates will never actually have children, and we endlessly debate, don't we, about whether women can have it all. Is it possible to have a great career and have a family as well? You could argue the opposite, in a sense, of what this head's saying, and say that actually, think about early on what you're going to do. How do you factor in having a family and a career?
I'm only here in this studio because my husband is at home with our children. You can't have it all, in the sense someone has got to do the childcare, and the emotional riches are huge when you have children, but financially it's pretty ruinous. So someone has got to stay home and look after the children. The question is, how is that balanced? And the idea that women should expect it to be them is what's outdated. But you really want a bit of equality on both sexes. You want them to be able to work equally and not neglect the children.
Well, she's sparked up an interesting debate, even if it's one that perhaps a lot of people might be a little bit puzzled by. Julia, thanks very much indeed. Julia Hobsbawm. Charlie's here with some sports headlines.